Hey there. If you've been taking piano lessons for a little while, chances are you are moving into music that looks more like this and doesn't have a whole lot of letter names or finger numbers in it anymore, which is probably what you've been using lately to learn your songs. So today we're going to be talking about the grand staff, which is just the fancy musical name for all those lines and spaces. So I've got a full grand staff here. It's not very wide, right? It doesn't have a whole lot of space to it, but we can still see all of our lines and spaces, which is the most important part. So on the grand staff, we actually have two different staffs. That's why it's called the grand staff. We have the treble staff and the bass staff. Now treble just means high sounds, which is why it's the higher one, and it has the treble clef on it. All right, so that big fancy swirly one is called the treble clef. And then down here, bass means low sounds. So this is the bass clef, and it's down lower on the staff, and it shows us where the low notes on the piano live. And right in the middle there, we can see that there's one extra line in between them to connect them, and that is where the note middle C lives. So you've probably already found middle C on your piano, but just in case, let's take a look at the piano. If you find the piano's name, or the very middle, if you have a keyboard and it doesn't have a name written on it, it'll be right in the middle. Find the closest two black key group to that name, or to the middle, and then if you just slide off and find the C that lives there, that's middle C. And middle C we put right in the middle of the grand staff. So I'm going to pull this guy out because he's actually got a note on him. All right, so middle C lives right on that line. Then if we want to find where the other notes live, we just have to move up or down, and we follow our musical alphabet. So we can have notes that live on lines, like middle C does, with that line going straight through the middle of it. Or we could have a note that lives inside of the space. So you can see there's no lines going through the middle. It's all in the space. I could have a note that lives way up here on a very high line. Or I could have one down here all the way at the bottom line of the staff, and we have some extra lines underneath it in case we need notes that are really low on the piano. I could have one that lives in a space down there. These are all different notes, and each one tells us a specific key on the piano to play. So just like when we see this note, we know to play middle C because it's in the middle. If I want to go up to some higher sounds, I'm going to need my note to be on the treble staff up a little higher. So let's say I just want to go one key higher on the piano. I'm just going to move up one note higher on the staff there. And instead of playing middle C now, I'm going to play the next highest note. So there's my middle C. I'm going to step up to D. So that note on the staff, the one that lives right above the middle line, is the D, right next to middle C. And of course I can keep going up. If I want to go up one more note, then instead of D, I'm going to play E, right? And if I go up one more step, if I look on the piano, I know that F is going to be next. So it's pretty clear that if I move up one more note here, I'm going to land on F, right? And I can keep going up. After F comes G. And then after G, we don't have an H in our musical alphabet, remember? So I'm going to land on A. We're starting over again on A, and I can keep going up. Line, B, space note, C, line note, D, space note, E, top line note there is F, and that's way up here on the piano, and if I want to go up to even higher notes, then I'm going to have to add some more special little lines on the top. So we won't go all the way through that today, but that is how we find all those treble keys on the piano. Now let's say we wanted to play some lower notes. So I'm going to go back to middle C here. Here's my middle C. And if I wanted to go down to lower notes, I can start just by stepping down. I'm going to go from that line note down to the space right underneath it. And that's one step down on the piano. So I'll show you this. Instead of playing middle C now, I'm going to go down one key, which will be the B right next to middle C. So I'm just stepping down one key on the piano while I go down from a line to a space on the staff. I can go down one more step, and this time instead of B, I'm going to go down to A. Now this is a little trickier because we have to go backwards in our musical alphabet, but you can do it. Underneath A, well, A is the start of the musical alphabet, so if we're going down again, we're going to have to go to the end of the musical alphabet. So that's a G. And then one more step down, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That would be an F that comes before G. And then what comes before F? A, B, C, D, E, F. That would be an E, right? Down one more step before E would be D. You can also follow along on the piano, so if you found a D, down one more step is going to be C. So here is C. But that's not middle C, remember. Middle C lives way up here. This is going to be the next lowest C, which we call bass C. So you can see this is a great system for knowing which keys we're going to play on the piano and just being able to read them really easily here, knowing exactly when to play middle C and when to jump up to a higher C or down to a lower C, and so on and so forth. So it's a great system. Now the hard part is, of course, knowing which note it is when you look at it, because right now you can probably remember middle C really well, right? That one's very easy to find because it lives on its own line in the middle. The other ones maybe just seem like they all look the same, or it's really hard. I'm going to have to count up and down from middle C every single time. Well, there are lots of other little tricks and tips for finding our way around the grand staff, which I will share with you in other videos called guide notes. So if you've got all this down and you want the next step, look for the Guide Notes Beginner video, and I'll show you a couple more tricks for finding some other notes really easily and memorizing them quickly, just the same way that you can already tell where middle C is super duper easily. All right, so go take a look for that video, and I'll see you soon.